FaZe Clan.
FaZe Clan.
FaZe Clan.
Esports phenomenon FaZe Clan debuting on the NASDAQ today via Stack Motion. They gifted this.
Who is FaZe Clan?
I am a part of the FaZe Clan.
And what happened to FaZe Clan?
I'm asking you, am I in FaZe?
I am no longer a part of FaZe
Now,
Clan.
in May, FaZe Clan was sued by Tinny over a contract.
Who I called you my fan.
FaZe and Banks have every right to do this.
This is not right. This is not cool.
Here's the thing about patterns. You don't see them when they're happening. You see them when someone finally puts everything in one place. For over a decade, Faze Banks was at the center of situations that followed the same shape. A promotion that leads to a collapse, followed by an explanation, then silence until it happens again. CS:GO Wild, then Save the Kids, followed by multiple crypto projects, then MLG, and finally, the complete implosion of FaZe Clan itself. Each one got treated as its own isolated incident with a different project in a different year, getting a different explanation. But in early 2025, something shifted. People stopped looking at them separately and started looking at them as a timeline. That's when the pattern became impossible to ignore. This is what that timeline actually shows. For years, FaZe Banks fit perfectly into the influencer success formula with charismatic presentation, strategic networking, and a brand built on making teenage dreams feel achievable. He wasn't reckless or obviously problematic. That's why his operation felt sustainable. He played the visionary founder who turned a Call of Duty trickshot team into a multi-million-dollar empire. And for a generation growing up on YouTube in the 2010s, he represented something aspirational. But influence doesn't just create wealth, it reshapes every relationship it touches. And that's where the complications begin. Let's go back to 2013. Gaming content is exploding on YouTube. Creators like PewDiePie and Markiplier are proving you can make millions playing video games. Esports organizations are forming, trying to capitalize before the industry matures. FaZe Clan exists as a Call of Duty sniping team known for montages and trick shots. Banks joins as one of the founding members, not for gaming skills, but because he understands something about presentation. Branding matters more than raw talent. Banks pushes the group toward vlogs, challenges, and personality-driven content. The strategy works. FaZe grows from a YouTube channel into a recognizable name with merchandise, sponsorships, and eventually venture capital backing. Banks becomes the face of this transformation, positioning himself as someone who saw potential others missed. But what happens next is where things start looking different than the narrative being told. Between 2016 and 2018, Banks and other FaZe members heavily promote a CS:GO gambling site called CS:GO Wild. They're not just sponsors. According to later admissions, they own it. The site operates from Antigua in the Caribbean. Banks later describes flying private to meet officials and paying for licenses. Here's what makes this worth examining. Banks and FaZe are telling their audience, which includes teenagers, to use a site they own while presenting themselves as regular users sharing a discovery. The disclosure never happens publicly until after the controversy breaks. The site develops a reputation for problems. Users complain on Reddit about suspicious patterns, withheld winnings, and losses to accounts that seem controlled by the house. One post describes losing over $3,000 in coin flips to the same bot account, later realizing it appeared to belong to site operators. When it comes out that FaZe owns CS:GO Wild, there's immediate backlash. Years later, Banks discusses it on podcasts, describing the gambling site as funding for FaZe's esports expansion because we didn't have the $1 million we needed for a Counter-Strike team. He frames it as a business move. The framing matters because it shows how the situation was viewed internally versus how it appeared to users who thought they were using an independent platform. This isn't the last time similar dynamics appear. Over the next several years, Banks becomes associated with promoting cryptocurrency projects that experience significant drops shortly after launch. Save the Kids token in 2021, followed by various memcoins and NFT projects over the next few years. The pattern is remarkably consistent. Heavy promotion drives brief spikes, then sharp collapses, while questions emerge about who exited before the crash. Banks develops a reputation in certain communities as someone to approach with caution when financial promotions are involved. But online reputation doesn't necessarily stick permanently. Audiences cycle, new followers arrive without context, controversies fade if nothing legally actionable happens. Then comes January 2025 and MLG. A memcoin launches based on Major League Gaming nostalgia. It's purely speculative with no stated utility beyond sentiment and vague promises about hosting servers. Banks endorses it heavily. MLG, best gaming coin, real culture, 15 years of history, biggest upside. Marketing claims about sentiment, not financial fundamentals, but presented alongside assertions that he and his team are well positioned in crypto with 6 to 7 figure returns. He arranges for Aiden Ross to go live for a crypto crash course. What happens becomes one of the most documented examples of how these promotions play out. Aiden buys $50,000 of MLG live on stream. Within minutes, he's down over 7,000. Banks tells him this is expected. People are using his buy as exit liquidity, but it'll recover. Aiden keeps losing, eventually down over 15,000, while Banks provides reassurance this is solid long term. The stream generates attention, temporarily driving interest and volume. Months later, in July 2025, leaked DMs surface showing Banks messaging the MLG team privately. The messages show Banks asking to buy large allocations at favorable off-market prices. He wants to increase his holdings significantly. According to screenshots, Banks writes he has zero patience and makes 6 figures a day. So this isn't about money, but being right. The tone appears notably different from his public messaging about holding long term. When the DMs circulate, Banks posts that Aiden Ross effed this up and calls Aiden the only bad actor in this entire thing. Aiden responds with screenshots showing Banks called repeatedly after things went wrong. During Aiden's depression and hospital stays, Banks was telling him his career was falling off without Banks's guidance. The contrast between public and private messaging raises questions about whose version aligns with documentation. Banks eventually goes live with Aiden to address it. He appeals to their friendship, suggests the controversy is being farmed for engagement, refers to the real ones, understanding what happened. When viewers push for direct answers, Banks suggests continuing off-stream. Eventually, Aiden signs a contract stating Banks didn't dump tokens during the stream from known wallets. Banks presents this as clearing everything up, but observers note the contract is narrowly worded. It addresses specific wallets during specific timeframes, not the broader questions about allocations or private communications. Around this time, FaZe Clan experiences its own collapse. Plaqueboymax leaves first. He describes content getting canceled without explanation, creators sent home early, decisions made without their input. Max hints contract discussions were happening around revenue splits after creators had already built audiences under different assumptions. When Max speaks publicly, Banks responds calling the streamers incredibly ungrateful with insane egos and incredibly fake relationships. Banks says he went millions into debt funding FaZe's revival, and these creators owe their success to his vision and investment. To prove it, Banks leaks extensive private DMs with Max. The messages show Max regularly asking Banks for advice. "I'm going to make you proud, bro, and thank you for always believing in me." In November, weeks before everything falls apart, Max tells Banks, "I think I effed up this whole FaZe thing," and expresses missing the environment. Banks presents this as evidence Max is being dishonest now, but the messages also show someone uncertain seeking validation from an authority figure, vulnerability, and second-guessing. Banks's choice to make these private, vulnerable moments public raises questions about how those relationships functioned. One by one, every major streamer leaves. Adapt, who'd been there 14 years, goes first, followed quickly by Silky, Jason, Ron, Lacey, and Rage. They leave within days and announce forming their own collective without contracts or revenue sharing. The speed and coordination suggests this wasn't individual egos. Something structural wasn't working for all of them simultaneously. FaZe stockholder Matt Kalish posts the structure is unsustainable and mentions putting $10 million in over 18 months. He offers creators a choice: go independent or sign with Hard Cope Agency. The implication is clear. FaZe couldn't keep operating this way. Banks announces he's stepping down as CEO and taking a break for his mental health. He frames it as being targeted by hate mobs, says this destroyed him despite never scamming anyone. The framing positions him as unfairly maligned rather than facing questions about documented patterns. And that's the dynamic throughout this timeline. Every situation has an explanation. The gambling site was necessary to fund esports. The crypto promotions came from genuine belief. The Aiden situation gets cleared by a contract, and the FaZe collapse happened because creators were ungrateful. There's always context provided, always a ready defense, and always someone else who's actually responsible. But when you lay out the timeline, patterns become harder to explain away. CSGO Wild operates with complaints, while owners promote without disclosure. Multiple crypto projects promoted then collapse with similar patterns. MLG, heavily marketed then, DMS show different private conversations. FaZe streamers all leave citing similar structural issues. These aren't unrelated incidents. They're the same type of situation with different details. The disturbing part isn't any single event. It's the same patterns across different contexts over a decade, while explanations change, but outcomes stay consistent. Banks didn't suddenly face reckoning in 2025. The timeline caught up all at once. How many bought into projects based on his promotions that collapsed? How many believed public messaging while different conversations happened privately? How many trusted the mentor relationship while vulnerability was documented? Questions the documentation raises even without complete answers. Banks is currently away from social media. Whether permanent or temporary, no one knows. But past patterns suggest this is more likely a pause than an ending, because the timeline shows Banks doesn't change approaches. He reframes them. And without mechanisms forcing accountability for documented patterns, those patterns don't need to change. The issue isn't whether individual situations cross legal lines. It's what happens when platforms and audiences treat each incident as isolated rather than part of a visible pattern. Banks didn't fall because one thing went wrong. He stepped back because everything went wrong at once in ways that couldn't be individually explained away anymore. The timeline speaks for itself. Everything else is noise.